A lot of people think that I just hate America, I hate Americans, I hate the USA and everything it stands for. And look, I understand why people would think that from watching my content, but truthfully, I don't hate America at all. I'm born and bred USA after all, and I still have many family members and friends who reside in the USA. However, because I'm from the US and because I have so many family members and friends from the USA, I also recognize that Americans are disproportionately affected by the phenomenon known as culture shock. And in reality, it's not that I hate Americans, it's that I love culture shock. And generally, because Americans tend to be so insular and isolated from other cultures, they tend to experience the most potent form of culture shock that there is. That said, I think it's also fair that I turn the tables every now and then and recognize that even as a European, reading stereotypes about the US online or watching videos of people like myself speaking about the US doesn't quite measure up to the experience of actually being there. Bearing that in mind, in this video, we will be reacting to Europeans experiencing culture shock in the USA. So without further ado, let's get into this first video. My Polish wife in an American store for the first time.
Hey babe, am I dreaming? Or is it a National's Pajamas Day in America?
Okay, so I already see where she's going with that. It looks like they're in Target based on that red background right there. They're in Target. Generally speaking, I feel like people who go to Target tend to dress a little bit better, which makes sense because generally people who go to Target tend to have a little more money, so they would have more disposable income to spend on clothes. And then people who go to Whole Foods Market or Sprouts, they might either be dressed very well or they might be wearing athleisure, but high-end athleisure. If she thinks that people in Target aren't dressed well, wait till she goes to Walmart for the first time, because people who go to Walmart, they just don't care about life at all. They are there to get their groceries, nothing more, nothing less. And interestingly enough, Pajama Day, that is a thing in school, believe it or not. We have a Pajama Day every year. Well, I guess had a Pajama Day every year because I'm 25, I'm not in school, but every year we'd have a Pajama Day. And if I recall correctly, we had to pay to wear pajamas. Or maybe it was Hat Day where we had to pay to wear our hat. Either way, I remember even at the time I was like, this is predatory. I'm not participating in this. But that is a whole thing. Let me know if they have that in schools where you're from.
No, why?
People are wearing pajamas in a store.
This is America. People wear what they want.
Not the side eye. Okay, so honestly, in the past, I've said that I believe the reason why Americans don't dress as well is because they spend more time in their cars. They spend more time in their homes. They're not really out and about. They're not walking, so they won't be seen as much. But now that I think about it, when you go to the grocery store, especially a big grocery store like Target, more often than not, you're going to spend at least an hour in there. So that makes me wonder, why do Americans just wear their pajamas out and about? I mean, I guess technically I kind of did the same thing today, although my pajamas that I'm wearing, they kind of double as, I guess, sweatpants, if you will. But I definitely wore these to the store because the store is just right downstairs. So I was like, why am I going to get dressed to go to the store to grab 5 items, come back, and get back into my workout clothes or whatever? It just didn't make sense logistically. But in the US, you're usually traveling a fair distance to go to the grocery store. So I don't know why that is. Maybe it's more of that individualistic nature and the fact that Americans tend to care a lot less about what people think about them. And that's kind of a symptom of, again, American individualism. In Europe, I've noticed that a lot of the cultures, to varying degrees, but generally all the ones I've come in contact with, place a lot more emphasis on social conformity. And in the Netherlands, for example, there's a saying, doe normaal, which literally translates to act normal. And if you're Dutch, I know that's not the whole saying, but that's how it's usually presented to people. It's just doe normaal. And from what I understand, various European countries have their own version of this saying. So I guess it could be that because Europeans value that social conformity more, which is ultimately how the systems tend to operate as well and efficiently as they do, the fashion is just a symptom of that. It could also be that they're just more exposed to different fashion senses because they see more pedestrians out and about. And humans are like sponges. We naturally just subconsciously adapt to our surroundings in a sense. So it's kind of a chicken or egg thing. I don't know. Let me know what your theory is about this, because I will say that in every European country I've been to, including the Netherlands, where apparently Dutch people are not known for fashion. Wouldn't have never guessed that. But in every European country I've been to, the people dressed exceptionally well no matter where they were. On to the next video. And this is words I had to change how I pronounce when she went to the USA. So I'm gonna let her pronounce them how she pronounces them, and then I'm gonna pronounce them how I pronounce them as an American.
Adidas, Nike, Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, BMX, Nivea, Palmolive, Aloe.
Okay, so I have no idea what type of accent she has. Visually, she kind of looks like she would come from maybe Spain or Italy or somewhere like that, but I have no clue. Let me know if you're from Europe, if you know what type of accent she has, where she's from, because again, I have no clue. But I would pronounce these words: Adidas, Nike, Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, BMX, Nivea. I don't even know what this is, but I guess palm olive and aloe. So I know if you're European, you might have just internally cringed, especially if you're German, hearing how I pronounced some of these words up here. But I literally went the first probably 21 years of my life, 21, 22 years of my life, up until I spoke to my girlfriend on the phone for the first time. So the first 22 years of my life, without knowing that Nike was pronounced Nike. I literally did not know that. And Adidas versus Adidas, literally had no clue. And I reckon most Americans have no clue about this as well. And to be fair, a company like Mercedes or BMW, they're German, so we should theoretically conform to how the Germans say it. I don't know if all European countries do that. So for example, people from, let's say, Spain, if they're speaking in English or Spanish, I guess for that matter, if they were going to say this brand name, if they would pronounce it how the Germans would, or make an attempt to pronounce it how the Germans would, or if they would just pronounce it in a way that's comfortable for their natural dialect. Let me know what the case is in regards to pronunciation in your country, or just in Europe overall. Because I want to say my girlfriend pronounces all of these words somewhat similar to how she just pronounced them in this video. And again, my girlfriend is Dutch. But I used to love these accent tag type videos growing up. Even just throughout the US, you'd be surprised at how much the accent varies from a place like New Orleans to a place like California, to a place like New York, to a place like Miami. And then even within those places, different races, how differently they pronounce words. Absolutely insane. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look at some accent tag videos from the US and you will see exactly what I mean. On to the next video. Things that are weird for me in the US as a European. So it looks like she's at Walmart. Whole aisle with just a Coke. Oh, and by the way, this one is muted because annoying copyrighted music, but whole aisle with just a Coke. Okay, I don't drink soda. So just fair disclaimer, maybe I'm not the most credible person for what I'm about to say, but I truly believe Coca-Cola is the worst soda out there. I don't know about the health implications of Coca-Cola compared to other sodas. Taste-wise, I do not for the life of me understand why people like to drink this. I genuinely don't understand. But this doesn't make sense. Why do you need this many sodas? Because soda doesn't even last that long. Even with all the preservatives, eventually the fizz goes away, and then you just have flat soda. So I don't see how somebody would be putting down this many sodas per day to warrant getting this big pack of Coca-Colas right here. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And if you are consuming enough soda per day to warrant getting a big pack like this, stop. Just stop doing it. Look, live and let live, but stop doing that. All right, we're having an intervention. You need to stop. I remember I had a teacher in 4th grade who used to come to school with this big pitcher. I'm talking about, this is my water bottle. She had a pitcher that was probably about this big. Don't know how many ounces it would be. Filled with Mountain Dew. Miss Rucker. Shout out to Miss Rucker. Ooh, she used to hate me so much. And then one day, we were allowed to bring, I think, a special drink to school. I brought a Monster Energy. Now, to be fair, 10-year-olds probably shouldn't be drinking Monster Energy. I didn't really care. She had the audacity to tell me that I shouldn't be drinking that. I'm like, excuse me? Do you see how much Mountain Dew you consume on a daily basis? And you're gonna lecture me about my beverage choice? Get out of here. This is crazy. Coffee creamers in this size? Yeah. No, this is crazy. This is so crazy. In the US, this right here, this carton that you see on the left side, would be considered small. That's considered small in the US. In Europe, you'd be hard pressed to find this package size, at least at the grocery stores I went to in the Netherlands. I favored Albert Heijn above all else. But I don't think I ever saw milk, at the very least, that was this big. You just didn't really see that. And you definitely never saw a gallon or a gallon equivalent, multiple liters of milk. So many M&Ms. This is what I mean. I know I always talk about this in all my videos, but it's like, why do you need all of these flavors? Look, the majority of people are gonna get this flavor right here, okay, the classic yellow M&Ms. I believe they have those in Europe too, correct me if I'm wrong. The classic yellow M&Ms with the peanut inside, or the brown bag, wherever that is. Okay, you can't even find one of the most popular flavors. They're gonna get the brown bag without the peanuts. Those are the two M&Ms that most people are going to get, and yet they have all of this other stuff. It's like, what's the point? What's the point of having all of these different options when most people are gonna get the same few things? The stores are so big, but they're full of nothing, a whole bunch of nothing that no one's gonna buy. All it does is create decision fatigue. Look, most people are gonna get the yellow Lay's, all right, that's the classic. I know in the Netherlands the bag is red. In the US the bag is yellow. The classic Lay's. I think this is the barbecue flavor Lay's. All right, I am a junk food connoisseur. I'm not gonna lie. I ate a lot of junk food growing up. It's a miracle that I'm not obese. But the black barbecue Lay's and maybe the green, I think it's sour cream flavor, sour cream and onion flavor. Those are the three that most people are gonna get. Maybe I'm projecting, but from what I recall, those were the three default flavors basically. Just like how in the Netherlands, most people are probably gonna either get the classic or they're gonna get the paprika flavor. I think, let me know if I'm wrong about that, but those seem to be the two most popular flavors. Thus, those are the flavors that are most represented on the shelves of Dutch grocery stores because Dutch people are logical. The selection of Oreos. Look at all this. Look, people are just gonna eat the classic Oreos. Maybe some people might eat this. I've never had this before, but I still eat the classic Oreos. That's my vice. As a vegan, that's one of the only junk food options that I really have access to worldwide. So that's generally what I eat for my dessert every day. But again, maybe I'm projecting. I don't really see a whole lot of people going into the store to buy all of these fancy types of Oreos. I just don't see it. And clearly they have more than enough inventory. It's like all you really need is that one shelf and just restock. That's what you pay them for. Corn flakes in these sizes. Wait a minute. Do Europeans refer to all cereal as cornflakes? Is that a thing? I know in the Netherlands is definitely not because I think you have muesli and krusli. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but if you're Dutch, let me know the difference between those. Or if you're European and you have those two distinctions as well, let me know the difference because I never really understood the difference. But I guess cornflakes is like the generic term for cereal in the rest of the world, because these are definitely not cornflakes. These look more like Fruity Pebbles, I would say. These look more like Fruity Pebbles, and they got these big bags of Fruity Pebbles. For what? Why do you need that big bag? It's no wonder why the USA has an obesity problem.